in a quiet little town nestled off the I-40 highway in North Carolina. There lived a man named Daniel. Nothing about him screamed ambition or drama. No big city dreams, no grand future plans. Just a simple man living a quiet life, trying to hold things together the best he could. Daniel worked as a waiter at a modest highway diner, the kind of place where the coffee pot never cooled and the jukebox still played old country songs that no one changed. He wasn't trying to climb any ladders. He didn't talk about promotions, never mentioned saving for a house or planning to open a business. His world was small but steady. His routine was his security. Each morning he tied his apron, tucked in his shirt, and walked in with that same gentle nod to the cook. "Morning, Jimmy." He never showed up late, never missed a shift. His sneakers were worn out at the sole, but he never asked for help. His mother, battling illness back home in a quiet corner of Arkansas, weighed heavily on his heart. Whatever little money he managed to save, after rent, groceries, and the occasional repair to his old pickup, he sent straight to her. No questions asked, no expectations. Most nights, Daniel manned the late shift, the lonelier hours, pouring coffee for long-haul truckers and families traveling through. He never rushed anyone. He'd refill a cup without being asked, nod politely, sometimes listen quietly to a traveler's story like it was something sacred. Even when his legs throbbed from standing 10 hours straight, he smiled. Not the fake kind, but the soft kind, like someone who'd long ago made peace with life's weight. He never talked about his pain, never showed it. His palms had calluses and his back often ached, but he wiped down counters like it mattered, like someone might notice, even if they didn't. Daniel was the type of man who picked up napkins off the floor without making a show of it, who cleaned the corners of the booth where no one ever looked, who would push in chairs after people left, as if to say, "You are welcome here." There was a humility about him, the kind that didn't come from books or speeches, but from life, hard-earned, quietly carried. He didn't complain when the tips were light. He didn't badmouth the rude customers. He didn't expect praise. He just did the work. And somehow, in that unnoticed, uncelebrated effort, Daniel lived a life that was deeply human, a quiet strength most people passed by without seeing. One rainy Tuesday evening, the kind of night where the sky felt heavy and the rain wouldn't stop tapping against the windows, Daniel was wiping down the last booth, hoping the final hour would pass quietly. The diner was nearly empty, just the low hum of the kitchen fan, the flickering neon sign outside, and the occasional splash of car tires on the wet road. Everything smelled faintly of coffee, fried eggs, and damp pavement. Just then, the door creaked open. A sharp gust of cold, wet air swept in with a man who looked like life had just taken a swing at him. He was in his mid-50s, hair sticking to his forehead, his suit clearly once expensive but now wrinkled, damp, and hanging off his frame like it didn't belong to him anymore. His shoes were soaked through, leaving faint, muddy prints on the linoleum floor. He didn't look at anyone directly, just scanned the place quickly, as if unsure if he should even be there. Daniel, despite being exhausted from a long shift, didn't hesitate. He folded his rag, placed it behind the counter, and walked over with a gentle smile. "Evening, sir," he said, voice low and calm. "You must be freezing. Let me get you some coffee." The man gave a tired nod and sat down in the corner booth, the one farthest from the door. He didn't speak much, just rubbed his hands together, trying to bring warmth back into his fingers, looking down at the table like it held all the answers he couldn't find anywhere else. Daniel brought over a hot cup, steam rising gently from it, and set it down without a sound. "Here you go. Black okay?" The man gave the faintest smile, almost like it hurt to move his face. Yeah, thanks," he whispered. Daniel slid the laminated menu across the table. "Kitchen's still open for a bit. Just holler if you need anything." But the man didn't even touch the menu. He looked out the window for a moment, then back down at the coffee cup. After a few long seconds, he muttered, "I left my wallet in my car. "I'll be right back." Daniel just nodded. No judgment, no suspicion in his eyes. "Take your time," he said casually. The door jingled as the man stepped out again into the rain, coat clinging to his back. But he never came back. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. Daniel walked over to the booth, maybe out of habit, maybe out of quiet hope. The coffee was half finished, still faintly warm. On the table just beneath the cup was a small scrap of a paper napkin. Torn unevenly at the edge, written with shaky hands, it said, "I'm sorry. I had to leave. Life's been hard lately." That was it. A $5 coffee. No name, no explanation. Just quiet shame and a few penciled words soaked slightly from the rain the man had carried in with him. Jimmy, the cook, leaned out from the kitchen, wiping his hands. "Hey, that guy leave without paying?" Daniel looked at the note again, his eyes soft, his jaw tight, not out of anger, but out of a deeper kind of understanding. He folded the napkin gently, as if it meant something. "Nah," Daniel said with a small shrug, placing the cup in the sink. "It's fine. Maybe he needed it more than we did." And with that, he walked back to the counter and picked up his rag again. No curse words, no shouting, no calls to the police, just quiet acceptance. The kind only someone who's lived through their own hard nights can truly offer. That coffee might have been free, but the dignity Daniel gave that stranger, that was priceless. Years passed, slowly, silently, without warning. Not all at once, but in small, unnoticed ways. One calendar replaced another. Faces changed. The booths wore down from elbows and time. The coffee kept brewing, and so did life. And somehow, without really meaning to, Daniel stayed. He hadn't planned it that way. He thought the diner would be temporary, a pit stop, a bridge between chapters. But that one chapter stretched on longer than expected. Days turned into weeks, then months, and then years. The routine became his rhythm. That corner booth, that hum of the ceiling fan, the smell of burnt toast and fresh coffee. It all became familiar, grounding, real. Then one day, without warning, no heads up, no build-up, the phone rang. The voice on the other end was professional, direct. "Mr. Daniel Harper, this is Langston and Haverly Law from Atlanta. We need you to come in. It's urgent." Daniel blinked. A law firm? Atlanta? He didn't know anyone from there. Hadn't done anything that would need lawyers. His palms started to sweat just hearing the word urgent. Still, the next day, wearing his cleanest shirt and a nervous look, Daniel made his way to the firm's tall office downtown. Every step felt unsure. The elevator ride felt longer than it probably was. His boots clicked awkwardly against the shiny marble floor. He wasn't used to places like this, with glass walls and sharp suits, and the smell of cold air conditioning instead of coffee and grease. When he was finally called in, a woman in a tailored blazer met him in a quiet conference room. She didn't waste time with small talk. She slid a sealed envelope across the polished table, then placed a check right beside it. Daniel glanced at the check, then froze. It wasn't small. It wasn't even just generous. It was 6 figures. 6. His heart started pounding in his chest, but his hands didn't move. His throat felt dry. He opened the letter slowly, like it might disappear if he moved too fast. Inside, written in calm, steady handwriting, were the words, "Years ago, I was a broken man who couldn't afford a $5 cup of coffee. You didn't chase me. You didn't call the cops. You just showed kindness when I didn't deserve it. That moment stayed with me. It reminded me who I used to be. Over the next few years, I rebuilt my life. That night was my rock bottom, and your kindness was the only light I saw. This money isn't charity. It's repayment with interest. Karma never forgets." At the bottom, in clean ink, was a signature. Franklin J. Matthews, CEO, Matthews Investments. Daniel just sat there, still, silent, as the weight of those words sank in. His mind raced, but his heart stood still. Daniel stood frozen in the hallway. His breath caught somewhere between his chest and throat. The polished floors beneath him, the soft buzz of distant voices, the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. Everything around him blurred into the background. He wasn't frozen because of the money. It wasn't the number on the check that held him still. It was something deeper, something quieter, something that gripped the center of his being like a memory pressing gently against his chest. He realized, right there, in that moment, that what he had done that night so many years ago wasn't grand, wasn't heroic. It was just a simple choice, a quiet act of decency. The kind you do when no one's watching, the kind you don't think twice about. He hadn't expected anything back. Not a thank you, not an apology. He had just let it go, like you let go of a balloon in the wind, not knowing where it'll end up. And now, here it was, coming back to him, not just as a memory, but as something real, tangible, a ripple that had turned into a wave. His heart felt heavy, not with guilt, not with pride, but with something more sacred. That strange, humbling feeling when life shows you that the smallest things you do can echo louder than you ever imagined. It wasn't about the money. It was about knowing that kindness matters. And somehow, after all this time, it had found its way home. Later that night, Daniel walked into the diner again, just as the rain started falling outside. He poured himself a coffee, sat at the counter, and stared at the empty booth where that man once sat. And he smiled. What you put into the world always comes back, even if it's late, even if it takes years. Karma never forgets, and it never fails. So friends, kindness is a seed. You may not see the tree grow, but one day when you least expect it, you'll rest in its shade. Karma keeps receipts, always. If you like this video, then like the video and subscribe to the channel and share with your friends.